Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coffee Shop Thursday. Grab that cup of coffee and have a sip. That is so good. Yeah, Coffee Shop Thursday in the afternoon. Why not? Why not? Let's get together in the afternoon and have our cup of coffee and talk Bible stuff, Scripture. And we're going to do that. Now, I have to just say one thing about what we're going to talk about today. A couple weeks ago on the 18th, that's the last Sunday we were in church before the blizzard hit us and knocked us out of commission for a while. I had printed in the bulletin the lessons for the coming Sunday, which is Christmas Day, and also the Sunday after that, which is this coming Sunday, New Year's Day. Well, the lessons I picked were from the Common Lectionary for New Year's Day, instead of what I wanted it to be, the first Sunday of Christmas. So that's what we're going to talk about today. In fact, we're going to talk about a passage from the book of Numbers, Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 through 27. Now, here's the deal about the book of Numbers. Isn't that a weird name for a book of the Bible? Numbers? Yeah, Numbers, because it gets its name from the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, which took place about the 2nd century BCE. And at that time, they took the name of this fourth book of the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It literally comes from the Greek word for numbers. Yeah, because the first 4 chapters deal with the census that had been taken amongst all the people. So it's full of numbers. All right, enough of that. Numbers. But what are we talking about today? Well, the book itself can be easily divided into 3 sections. The first 10 chapters or so deal with the people as they're preparing to leave their encampment at Mount Sinai. That's now after they started wandering in the wilderness, they ended up there at Mount Sinai after Moses had led them out of slavery in Egypt, and that's where he got the 10 Commandments, but they spent a whole year there. Now, the next part, the middle part of Numbers, is when they're actually back in their journey going toward the Promised Land, but they're going all over the place. Remember, it took 40 years to get there. And then the last part is when they set up camp in Moab just before they entered the Promised Land. So 3 pretty basic different journeys in there. So what do we have going today? Well, this is the interesting thing. It's a little weird because we're in chapter 6, which is in the first part while they're encamped yet. And the first part of chapter 6 talks about Nazarites. Now, who are the Nazarites? They are the ones who pledge themselves to being separate from the rest of the people and kind of being holy. And some think that John the Baptizer was a Nazarite. And what's a Nazarite? It's someone who pledges that they're not going to cut their hair, that they're not going to go near strong drink, so no wine, nothing like that, and they're not going to touch any dead bodies. Isn't it kind of weird? But these people were considered, they're kind of like the monks and the nuns of the people of Israel as they're wandering through the wilderness. All right? So you have that going on. So you have that. Then you have our passage that I'm about to read. And then after that, there's a whole bunch of stuff on how you set up the tabernacle. The tabernacle is what the Ark of the Covenant was housed in, and how you're supposed to set that up and arrange all the stuff for worship, this, that, and the other. So it's a little weird, because what's weird about it is what we have right in between our passage for this Sunday, and you know it. You probably know it by heart, and you didn't even know that you knew it. Yeah, okay. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, Thus you shall bless the Israelites. You shall say to them, Are you ready? And you know it. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So they shall put my name on the Israelites, and I will bless them." See, I told you you knew what it was. Yeah, it's the Aaronic blessing. It's what I say at the end of every worship service. It's a blessing that was later on spoken after the people had returned from exile in Babylon. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Here it's being talked about as they had just left Egypt to go to the Promised Land, and as they returned from exile in Babylon back to the Promised Land, this became part of their worship service. It concluded all their worship services. But isn't it neat? It's so compact. It's a little weird that it comes between talk about Nazarites and then all the how you set up your worship area. But here it is. It's a blessing that is to be bestowed on the people after every time they come together for worship. The Lord bless you and keep you. We know bless, we can figure that out, but keep you, what does exactly that mean? That means to preserve you from all evil, to hold you in his hands, to keep you safe. That's what that means. Some of the Psalms, they use that word keep you time and time and time again. There's one psalm that does it about a dozen different times in the same psalm, maybe even more than that. I can't remember now, but it's a very important word because it describes God's actions toward us. So as the Lord blesses us, he keeps us safe in his arms. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. That whole imagery of his face, his countenance looking upon us, the image of light shining in the darkness. We have a lot of that going on later on in the prophet Isaiah. Okay? The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Lift up his countenance. Again, that's the same word as face. He's looking upon you and guarding you and blessing you and taking care of you. And the last thing he leaves with you, his peace. Shalom. A big word in the Older Testament. A word that we need to really hold on to. It's not just, shalom, and they did use it as a greeting for one another, but it means wholeness, completeness, total well-being, prosperous. Yeah, some hints of that here and there, but it all comes from being faithful to the one who blesses us. And so it's a blessing given to the people as they exited their time in worship. And look at this last verse that I read. So they shall put my name on the Israelites. They, meaning Aaron and all the other priests, they will put God's name on the Israelites by saying this blessing. His name is Yahweh. But they didn't say it. They didn't say it. They said the Lord. They shall put my name on the Israelites, and I will bless them. It's not, well, I might bless them. Oh, yeah, we see all through the Old Testament. And when this was written, this is written after the exile, so the people have been through some pretty bad stuff. But we see also that it's all about God not forgetting his people. God will bless them. So say this blessing. Remind the people that God does hold them near and dear to himself. Okay. So grab your cup of coffee and celebrate that God is near to us, God is dear to us, and he will let his face shine upon you and me. Blessings be with you this day.